think we're live. I think we're live. Yeah, Mike, we're back. Oh, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Switch Done with me, Paul Olowogboye, um, podcast where I talk about everything and anything on my mind this week. But it's been a while since I've been on here, and yeah. I've just been doing life. Life has just been doing me. So I've just kind of like, step back from it, just try to absorb and just kind of like be in the moment as much as possible. But yeah, it's been an interesting few months. If I could say, the world has been very interesting. Has been in the flux. But yeah, I think with this episode, I'm just gonna do a little recap of stuff that has been happening, stuff that I've engaged with, just my take on it. This is going to be a bit more chilled because I think I had to take a bit of time to kind of find myself in this podcasting because this is this is me trying to get comfortable with something I really enjoy doing. And as a result, I want to be myself when I do this. I want to speak my own kind of like, my own flow. Feel no pressure, just talk, enjoy the moment, enjoy the content I create and not try to be so heavily influenced by everything else I see around me and as to what other people are doing with the podcast space, the media space and stuff like that. So this is just my take on stuff. But yeah, with that being said, wow, you got to say there's been a lot happening. We still got the Ukraine war kicking, still going on. It feels like ancient history right now because it's just in and out of the news, but that's still going on right now. And I think was it yesterday I saw no, actually my girlfriend sent it to me and she was like, "Oh, don't look at this now until like 9 a.m. in the morning because she knew that it's gonna get me like thinking, it's a bit sus, it's a bit cringe." But yeah, there was what's his name? It was today, literally Wednesday when I'm recording this. The actor Sean Penn went to Ukraine and then loaned his Oscar to President Zelensky. I just have to laugh. I just have to laugh about it because it's like seriously, is this what it's come to? Because let's not forget there was the whole photo shoot that was done and all that looked a little bit suspicious. So to not have this as well again, just like photo up and just stuff like that. But the comment section online was brutal. One of the comment that kind of stood out to me was somebody that said, it feels like Champagne is actually giving Zelensky an award for what a superb performance has had, his acting performance has had this whole Ukraine war and stuff like that. It's a bit peak. Yeah, it's a bit peak, but that's what the comments were saying. But yeah, that was interesting. Tickled me slightly. Because the conflict is still going on and people are losing their life. I'm well aware of that. Sad, the conflict, the invasion by Russia, by the aggressive party. That's what it is. It's horrendous, but at the same time, it's like there needs to be a resolution, and there needs to be a resolution fast. People need to get around the table and come up with a resolution because the only people that end up suffering when it comes to stuff like this is never the wealthy. It's never those that are well off. Even Zelensky isn't suffering. If we're being honest about it, it is the people on the ground of Kiev and Ukraine and around the world that are going to be the ones suffering. That are going to be taking the brunt of the war. It is the men that are going to war to go fight. Those are the ones that are losing their life. It is family being dismantled and stuff like that. So it's crazy to see that that's still going on. But just the whole Champagne loaning his Oscar, it's just oh man, it's just theater. That's what it looks like. It just looks like theater, and I just can't take stuff like that seriously. I just can't. But we're gonna shift gear. We're gonna shift gear to the UK, and the UK politics has been crazy. It has been crazy. If I just say it, so now we have a prime minister that seems to be just getting to the work in a sense. But we had Boris. Boris had to leave because he lost the support of his party and he couldn't bear it, so he had to leave. And then they went through a whole election cycle within the Tory party, the Conservative Party, and then the members get to choose. So literally, I think the figure was like 0.00 something percent of the population were actually the ones that had the power to choose who the next prime minister was, which is crazy because we quote unquote live in a democratic society, but I guess that goes out the window when party politics and everything comes and the system that we have comes into play. So then we had an election. We had between two contenders in the sense we had Rishi Sunak and then we had Liz Truss. One with a bit more financial, thinking on his head, and he was trying to approach the situation. We had inflation, we had cost of living, we had so much stuff going on, energy crisis, and he was trying to come up with like proper ways of dealing with this. And then you had Liz Truss that was just flinging fucking shit on the wall to see which one of them will stick. That's what it just felt like, just flinging shit on the wall to see what's gonna stick. And she won. Cool. She got into power, and she didn't last long. She did not last long because it was just set up to fail. You had someone that was so incompetent leading the country, and the budget that got put out just got lambasted. It's crazy that they had Kwasi Kwarteng, which was the Black Chancellor. He was the first one to get kicked out. Like, he got fired. It's crazy that he got fired, but not the person in charge. But it happened, and then she lost the support, and we came back to square one of having Rishi Sunak in power, and that's what it is right now. We have this government that has been in power for over 12 years. Things are getting shit. Services are getting shit. The NHS is struggling. Education is struggling. Social services is struggling. Everything is struggling. Every part of our social fabric is struggling. And yeah, we've had this government in for 12 years, and yeah, we need something different. For me, my take is the system we have in the UK isn't adequate as to how we elect people in power. Because I think we have first past the post, but we need proportional representation. Because the one thing I've noticed, and I've noticed this for a while, but the more I am out there speaking to people, the more I'm interacting with a lot more people at work, and in the gym, outside, just day to day, online and stuff like that. It's that what I think isn't what the majority think, or my sets of belief isn't what the majority have. So actually, it's so fluid out there. A lot of people that I've literally met people that are the best of the best, people that have their shit all together, and family people, take care of this, whatever. They are like hardworking, whatever, and they are conservative voters, or they're Lib Dem voters, or the UKIP, or they're Brexit voters, or the this voters, or like they have this political stance, they have this. Like, people are so fluid, and as we go through this whole like political system, and as we come close to the next general election, it is gonna be interesting to see how who gets into power next, because now it's seen that the Labour government is technically the government in waiting to get into power. But even I myself, that technically I lean left, I'll prefer a government that is that's a reflection of the country, and not just a reflection of a proportion of the country. Just because you as a political party get 40%, the majority vote, shouldn't just be that you then lead. I think we need a coalition sort of government, because then you get to have people's voices at the table. You get to have people represented, because what tends to happen is when we have a set group of people that are different, that are sort of like disenfranchised from the system, it festers, and that's how you had Brexit. Is because people were shoved into the corner, and those people that were shoved into the corner, that were berated by society, found a voice in the underbelly of society, and then when it was time for them to come out, they came out in full swing. So we need to be able to have a system that takes care of everyone that represents everyone. And I don't mean everybody like minute, but like that represents the core segments of society. We need them at the table. Uh, but yeah, the government right now is just trying to like just get through cost of living. We have inflation at over 10%. And that's just inflation, not taking into consideration all the stuff that increases that. And I think that would make inflation, actually real-time inflation, peaking close to like 15% or more. And that affects a lot of things in life. That's why I'm being affected because I have to look at remortgaging a property. That means my mortgage rate is technically about to double or more than double, which is crazy because my income ain't doubling, but that's just the way society is right now. And as a result of just the way things are kind of going around right now, we've seen a lot of protests happening. We had the railway strikes. We're looking at teacher unions. We are looking at the hospital. We are looking at doctors and nurses striking. Different parts of the countries, people from different walks of life are striking in the public sector. We're seeing a bit of discomfort in the private sector as well. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and where I live close to Dartford. I live close to the M25, and we've seen a lot of protest from people like Just Stop Oil. Literally, I'll say a stone throw, but not really a stone throw. You know what I mean? Just trying to flex my language a little bit. Where the M25 was literally blocked for a couple of hours because Just Stop Oil were protesting because of climate change and wanting to kind of push the government to do a lot more to actually meet our agreement when it comes to reducing our carbon on expenditure and stuff like that. So and it's creating a lot of discomfort. So there are a lot of people striking for good reasons. And I always tend to, especially when it comes to workers' strike, I always tend to. So I'm always on the side of workers because I believe workers deserve good pay, good treatment. You know what I mean? Good compensation for the labor and be treated right. So I'm always on their side. But just in general, I do see a lot of people talk about like, oh, the government needs to bring in laws to like, you know what I mean, be crack down on protesters and stuff like that. I'm hesitant in that because this is us potentially giving power to a government that can then use it down the line to suppress your free speech. Not really a fan of that. So we got to be careful when it comes to that. You just have to kind of like tread lightly. Well, that's kind of like stuff in the UK, and there's still more stuff that's been happening in the UK or around the UK that just fascinate me, scares me, intrigues me, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's that. Um, on international news, there's been a lot of crazy shit happening out there. We got the whole Kanye West shit, Kyrie Irving. But we've got a couple of stuff. We got like, for example, we've got the World Cup coming up, as you know what I mean. For the football people in here, for my football listeners, we got the World Cup coming up in Qatar, which is a bit of a mistake that Carter was giving it. But lately we've got a lot of concerns around people from the LGBT plus community going to Qatar, and what sort of safety is available to them just to make sure they are safe, to be as free as possible. And for me this one is a bit of a complex one. And the reason why I say it's a bit of a complex one, I support people's right to be who they want to be. You know what I mean? So far you're not hurting anyone, do you? Whatever you want to do you. So far you're not hurting anyone, putting anyone in danger, corrupting people and stuff like that, do you? It should be a free world in a sense. But people need to understand that the world is a massive place. Just because we have a specific way of life in the UK, for example, doesn't mean that it's reflected around the world. We had a great example like America that has gone back on the protection of abortion rights for women. This is meant to be quote unquote a free world, a free country, whatever. You can see how rules aren't really free. So it's a great eye opener. But Qatar was awarded to host the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup. I think they got awarded this in 2010. And what has been interesting with the current outcry regarding LGBT community plus and how they don't really feel safe in Qatar, and there's the controversy around it, um, um, because quote unquote homosexual acts are illegal in Qatar, because it is considered immoral under Islamic Sharia law. That's their stuff. It is not my place to tell people what they want to do religiously, even though I might disagree with them. And I disagree with them wholeheartedly because I just believe in people being free to be who they want to be. So far, you're not hurting anyone. But this is an Islamic country, and they are allowed to govern themselves the way they choose to want to govern themselves. Just like how we have in the UK, we have the freedom of religion. And this, I think this is under Article 9. It's the right for you to hold your belief and for you to manifest your belief. So it is under the human right, and that the UK is part of, the UK signed up to. You are protected. You have your religious freedom of religion and beliefs, and then for you to practice that inbound. Don't get me wrong, inbound. So far you're not being like, you know what I mean, hurtful or hate crime or stuff like that to people. You're allowed to practice your religion. You're allowed to practice your belief, believing stuff. And in a sense, that puts the UK in a very, or the UK political institution or the government in a very, very kind of like touchy way as to if they want to go to the World Cup and kind of represent the World Cup. I know the government or members of the current government and also the opposition party has said that they wouldn't want to go or don't feel safe and stuff like that. It's because even in the UK right here, technically people are allowed to discriminate because of the religious beliefs. They're allowed to hold they're allowed to hold ideas that they feel like, yo, this is me. I don't support that. My religion doesn't let me support that. I believe in this. I believe that homosexuality is wrong and stuff like that. People are allowed to hold that belief in the UK. So it is hard. It is hard for us to then turn around to Qatar and be like, nah, y'all are wrong for having that. Y'all are wrong for discriminating against people. Nah, you should be able to allow people to be themselves and just be who they want to be. We don't really have the leg to stand on. We don't really have the leg to stand on. And for me, and oh man, the way my brain thinks sometimes is a bit. I find it interesting. I find it slightly annoying that, yeah, the World Cup is literally happening this month, so there's a lot of spotlight shine on this. But over the years, we've had reports come out about the state of the kind of construction of the whole World Cup and the whole stuff in Qatar, and the human rights abuses that people have faced, the workers have faced, and thousands of people have said to have died in the whole process of constructing this massive, you know what I mean, stadiums and stuff like that for this. And over the years, I haven't seen a massive outcry for this. I haven't seen a massive outcry. FIFA did not give a fuck. Because if FIFA really did care about human rights and instead about money, they wouldn't they would have cracked down on this. There have been people that have had a passport held. I think the report was about close to like 6,000 plus people have died in Qatar since they won the World Cup because of trying to get this project up and running. So it's that's what has been reported. That kind of number has been reported. It's been it's been challenged by the Qatar government and stuff like that. They said the numbers misleading and stuff like that. But we know this was a money grab. This was money in play. and that was the result. And as a result, Qatar was awarded this. And my stance is this: I hardly ever go to places that I know aren't really don't really have my same belief. I wouldn't go to a country that I know is outwardly racist towards black people. Or if I go, I am very careful as to how I maneuver myself. I am very careful as to how I maneuver myself so I don't get into situations that's going to put me at a disadvantage. That's just it. That's how I try to do it. And that would be my same stance. If you're gonna go somewhere that you know has specific rules and laws, you need to be well aware of what those rules and laws are. And if you can't conform to them, then I don't think you should go for your own safety. Because then we have a diplomatic situation like that. Because rightfully so, Qatar can arrest and imprison people if you are breaking the law. Just like you can go to America, you can go to anywhere in Europe and stuff like that. You go and you do stuff that's against the law, you can be arrested. And you can face consequences. It doesn't make Qatar any different if they don't are not in support of LGBTQ plus community and the members being themselves in public. That's just my take on it. It's gotta be. I mean, people just gotta take cautious steps and protect themselves. But yeah, that's just that. But let's come to the Pince Resistant, the big one for me that's been happening past few weeks. Someone should have taken Kanye West for nothing, man. Someone should have taken his phone off and told him, yo, listen, go to bed. Before you tweet that, son, go to bed. As we know, Kanye has been in the news of late, and it's just been crazy. He's been doing quite a lot of interviews, quite a lot of podcasts, quite a lot of conversations, been in the news and stuff like that. And I think for me with Kanye, I've always said this from a long time. Like musically, I love his music, and I love the kind of the music. Just he's a genius when it comes to the music. Also, he's a smart person, a smart guy that set up, a clothing brand that's billions and stuff like that. This is a guy that knows something. But also, just because you're a genius, you could also be stupid. And I think from some of the interviews that I've seen that I saw Kanye do, if I summarize it, this is somebody that was thinking as he was talking, and as he was thinking and talking, we had some gold nuggets dropping out of him, and then we had some fucking bullshit dropping out of him. That's what I see. And he did a whole white lives matter. Even when just me thinking about it, I just think like, yo, what do you think? Like, for me, he's such a complex character, a complex human being. He is one of the most flawed human beings I've seen at such a high level in the limelight. He is so flawed. He is so flawed because a lot of the stuff that he was saying, that he said for years, I just think like, what the fuck? And then I remember he came out saying like he doesn't read. And I was like, I don't think that's a good thing for you to say, because then it just shows that sometimes you just need to shut the fuck up, because you're talking on something that you have no idea on, but you're trying to impose your understanding, or you're trying to impose your current thinking as this should be what it is, when in fact it shouldn't be. When he did the whole white life, it was a money grab. It was a money. I remember when I saw that picture, I was like, this right here is a money grab. it did not play out the way because he did not play out the way I think he wanted to play it out. Because if you listen to a lot of the interviews he was doing, this was a man that was trying to get himself out of some positions and get ownership of some stuff. His partnership with his partnership with his Yeezy partnership with Adidas and other companies. This was a man that was talking about how he was disgruntled and stuff like that, and was trying to find ways to kind of gain his image back and gain his whatever. But at the same time, he was doing some fuck shit that just did not make sense. It did not make sense. And the public backlash was intense because a lot of people were cutting ties off him because he was saying some anti-Semitic shit. And they came down like a ton of bricks on him. But that's what pisses me off. When Kanye is going hard against black people, we get a couple of people that come out and challenge him and stuff like that. But we never got the same level of bricks falling on him like we see right now. No, we never did. For me, that's telling. A lot of those companies that cut ties with him right now, what the fuck were they doing when he was doing the fucking whole MAGA shit, dissing black people, you know what I mean? Using black people as a crutch, you know what I mean? Where were they? Where was Tem? You know what I mean? Where was Adidas? Where were all these companies? They were okay wanting to do business with him when he was doing shit that was affecting black people. They didn't give a fuck because they know, listen, money's got to be made. Money has got to be made. Even with Adidas cutting ties with him right now, Adidas is still has rights to those footwears and some of the apparels. So these motherfuckers are gonna go release new Yeezys in different colors, but they're not gonna call it Yeezys. So I'm like, what? So y'all are still want to profit off this man's idea, but you want to cut ties with him, but you still want to profit off the shit that he created. I just call into question, do these companies actually give a fuck? They don't give a fuck. So far, it comes down to money. They don't give a fuck. And this kind of leads into the final thing I want to talk about. Kyrie Irving, an American basketball player. That, and I mean, it wasn't in the news a while back when it came to like the whole COVID, because he was one of the players that did not want to talk about if he took the vaccination. He wanted to have it. I mean, he kept his right to not want to take the vaccination. Which, you know what, do you? You know what I mean? He attracted a lot of attention, a lot of criticism. He missed, I think, about a few months of playing basketball, but he stood his ground. It's like, listen, I don't have to tell you guys if I'm vaccinated or not. But at the same time, listen, if you don't want me, I'm just going to sit on the bench line. And they did for a couple of months. And then you know what happens? I mean, the NBA is always going to find a way to bring him back because he was expensive. And also, the team needed him on the court. So we're going to find a way to bend the rules to bring him back. That's just the way they do it. But he also came under fire recently, because he posted something on his social media that was viewed as anti-Semitic. Posted a link to a book or film, if I remember right, which gathered a lot of a lot of backlash. His thing is like, how can I be anti-Semitic if I know where I'm coming from, or whatever the case might be? You know, I mean, that's him. He's allowed to do whatever he wants to do and say whatever he wants to say. That's just him. But what has been interesting is he posted a link to a content that was being sold on Amazon. And for me, that says a lot. So this content, this film, I think the film is called, let me check the name. The film is called Hebrew to Negroes. Wake Up Black America. Yeah, this movie is seen as has some anti-Semitism in it and stuff like that. And I call into question, if you post something, does that mean you are co-signing it, or I mean that's just another discussion for another day. But I mean, they came down like a ton of bricks on him and stuff like that. But what I find interesting is where was the same backlash on Amazon? Because Amazon had this content on their on their website selling this shit. They had this content selling this shit. So where were people going after Jeff Bezos at Amazon saying, "Yo, why are you selling anti-Semitic shit?" For me, I just find it a bit, you know what I mean? It's a bit nasty that you're willing to single out individuals like Kyrie. I mean, what he did is what he did. I don't support it, but you're willing to single him out and use him as a scapegoat and drag him out in public and fucking break him in public. But I don't see that same energy against people like, you know what I mean, the Bezos and the owners of Amazon. I don't see that same energy. So, you know what I mean? It's just the standard. It's just the standard. And the same thing reflects to the whole Kanye West stuff. It just doesn't sit right. It just doesn't sit right that we're willing to drag individuals out in public, break them in front of the public, make them apologize, drag them around, fucking tell them to pay restitution, this, that. But mega companies that actually hold stuff like this, I don't see the backlash for them. But yeah, it's just interesting. And this is just a drop in a lot of the stuff that I've been looking at, I've been engaging with on the low. And yeah, I'm gonna be talking about a lot more other stuff, a lot more, I mean, touches. I won't say maybe controversial. I mean, I want to dive into a lot more kind of like public debate that's been happening and stuff like that in coming episodes. But with that being said, that is it for me today. Thank you for listening to this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comment or any feedback, please do share with me. And you can find me on Instagram at switchdon_with_Paul. And with that being said, until the next one, peace out.